Have you ever felt like your own mother was jealous of you, not for what you had, but for the very fact that you existed? My name is Riley, and for 22 years I lived in a house where the mirrors were always slightly tilted away from me and the basement door stayed double locked from the outside. My mom, Diane, was a local legend, a former beauty queen who still wore her pageant sashes while doing the dishes. She called me her little shadow, but as I got older, I realized she didn't mean it as a term of endearment. She meant she wanted me to stay behind her out of the light. We lived in a beautiful, isolated farmhouse in the Pacific Northwest, miles from the nearest neighbor. Mom homeschooled me, claiming the world was too dangerous for a girl with my face. But the real danger wasn't outside the front door, it was breathing right next to me in the kitchen every morning. The turning point happened last month during the week Mom was hospitalized for a minor surgery. For the first time in my life, I had the house to myself and the keys to every room. I started with the basement, expecting to find old furniture or tax records. Instead, I found a room that looked like a high-end medical clinic. There was a professional-grade vanity, a collection of surgical tools, and rows upon rows of glass jars filled with what looked like translucent, preserved skin. On the desk was a leather-bound journal titled The Preservation Project. As I flipped through the pages, my heart stopped. The handwriting was Mom's, dating back to the year I was born. It wasn't a diary about raising a daughter, it was a log of harvests. She had been documenting every time she gave me a vitamin shot that made me sleep for 12 hours, and exactly how much collagen and tissue she had surgically borrowed from me while I was unconscious to use in her own experimental anti-aging treatments. I felt sick, my skin suddenly crawling as if I could feel the microscopic scars she had hidden under my hair and behind my ears for 2 decades. But the horror went deeper. I found a hidden compartment in the desk containing a birth certificate that wasn't mine. It was for a girl named Sarah, born 3 years before me. I dug further and found a series of Polaroids of this girl. She looked exactly like me, same eyes, same smile, until the photos started to change. In the later pictures, Sarah looked gaunt, her skin unnaturally tight, her expressions vacant. The last photo in the stack wasn't of a girl at all. It was a picture of a fresh grave in the woods behind our barn, marked only with the word depleted. I realized then that I wasn't her daughter, I was her second crop. I didn't run, not yet. I knew she'd find me if I just bolted into the woods. Instead, I waited for her to come home. When she walked through the door, smelling of hospital antiseptic and looking younger than she had a week ago, I was sitting at the kitchen table with the journal open. She didn't even flinch. She just smiled that perfect porcelain smile and said, "Riley, darling, you were always the most selfish of my projects. Do you have any idea how much it cost to stay this beautiful?" She moved toward me with a syringe she'd pulled from her purse, her eyes wide and glassy with a terrifying vein obsession. But I had spent the afternoon preparing. I had swapped her vitamin supply with the heavy sedatives I found in her medical kit. When she tried to grab my arm, I managed to prick her instead. As she slumped to the floor, her face hitting the linoleum with a dull thud, I didn't call an ambulance. I called the police and the coroner. The shocking part, when the police arrived and started digging up the backyard, they didn't just find Sarah. They found 4 other girls, all roughly the same age, all abducted from different states over the last 30 years. My mother wasn't a beauty queen, she was a biological vampire who had been stealing lives to maintain her youth. Today, I'm living under a new name in a city where no one knows my face. I've had 3 surgeries to repair the damage she did to my nerves, but every time I look in the mirror, I don't see myself. I see a survivor of a woman who loved her reflection more than a human soul. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, I still check my arms for needle marks, terrified that I'll wake up back in that basement, waiting for the next harvest.